Hey, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the first DC iOS meetup in person since 2020 and our first hybrid meetup. So thank you. It's been a long time. Glad that people are able to come out and that, we're going to be able to talk about iOS again. Actually, first, a quick check for the Zoom. Can everyone hear me? Someone just responded to the chat if you can or can't.
Got a couple thumbs up.
Cool. All right, perfect. Thank you for the thumbs up. All right. All right, so thank you, everyone, and let's get to it. So quick welcome. So as I said, this is our first one back in person. Virtual guests, you are all muted for now. Obviously, there'll be time for some questions later, but we'll let you get some networking. And as you all saw the note that we are recording. So quick reintroduction, exactly who we are. So we are iOS and macOS developers and enthusiasts that are mostly located in the DC area. Obviously, now that we're a hybrid area, I say we are mostly located because everyone in person is here, but we might have people from around the country. I know probably a few people from New York. I know a few others from other places who I've run into across the internet over the past few years. So welcome to everyone who's coming. So quick historical context, the meetup was originally founded in November 2019 by some Capital One employees. We were regularly meeting on the second Tuesday of the month until 2020 happened. However, during 2020 and 2021, we were virtual for a good chunk of it. We were pretty good at doing monthly meetups, probably till about late 2021. Then we had a few in 2022, and then we kind of, we needed a break. And we're during especially that end part of 2021, like late 2021, we started working with iOS Soho in New York because they were also mostly Capital One based until they resumed in person a few months ago. And now we're back. So thank you for coming back out to the first talk. And one thing obviously is, over time, a lot of our co-organizers have changed. I'm now the only kind of original co-organizer left. We have a new co-organizer. So just to kind of refresh everyone quickly, we'll do quick introductions from our side. So for those who may or may not know me, I'm Scott Luxembourg. I am a senior engineering manager at Capital One, where I lead the enterprise iOS platform. And I've been at Capital One for about 5 years, coming up in 5 years this April. Before that, I was a government contractor. Besides dealing with iOS all day, every day, I'm also a freelance percussionist and a drummer. And I've presented here twice before, in April 2020 and April 2021. Don't be looking for a 3-year streak, though, because I'm not presenting this April. Oh, and I just lied. I said there were no jokes today, but I already went and made one. And I'm somewhere on social media because we all know Twitter's kind of gone on fire, and I'm kind of too lazy to figure out how Mastodon works sometimes. And then I will kick it over to my new co-organizer, Mac Bellingrath.
I should have added more. That was my slide. When you asked me to add some details, I didn't look at your slide first to see what you had added. I was like, okay.
I wasn't in that until about 3 p.m. today. So.
Got it. My name is Mac. I'm an iOS engineer at the Washington Post. I've been here for 5 years and previously participated in meetups with DC iOS at Capital One, have presented in the past at DC iOS and enjoyed it. I'm glad to see we're coming together in person again. I know that in the past, Cocoa Heads, which is not really connected with us anymore, was a great way for me to connect with other iOS engineers when I moved to this area for professional networking and sort of just to engage with the community more. So hoping that I can help provide that for new folks and establish something again.
Thank you. And, and as Max said, this is actually the first time we've not hosted at a Capital One site. So we're very glad we have some new partners that we can spread our wings and be elsewhere other than main campus for most of us. So it is good that we can grow our wings and hopefully we can find other places too. And tonight's agenda, well, we only have one talk tonight. So with that, I will hand it off to Dan.
All right. Hello. All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Dan. I am an iOS engineer at Capital One. Thank you so much for joining the return to in-person hybrid meetups. I will say this is the first time I've been out of the house for some time, so it will be getting used to like talking if I'm more comfortable talking to the camera than the people who are here, just my apologies, I'll work on it, we'll get there. Yeah, tonight we're going to talk about building a best-in-class iOS widget and making a widget kit widget that your users will love and that your team will love. So a little bit about myself to get started. Like I said, I'm an iOS engineer at Capital One. And then I was also the tech lead on the account balance widget at Capital One, which was the first widget kit widget that was built for the Capital One app. As we go into talking about building a widget, my perspective, I'm bringing a few things to the table. One is I'm at Capital One, a bank, so security is top of the mind for us. So I will lean strongly into security. You may or may not need to lean quite as far into security depending on your app, but that's where I'll be coming from. We're also not using like the latest, we're not solo developers releasing to iOS 16 immediately 2 weeks after it's released. So we take a little time to see how the features live in the wild before adopting them in our app. So I won't be talking about things like lock screen widgets or live activities or app intents, although they are very cool and they may be part of my next talk. We'll see about that. And then it's a large enterprise environment and a large team, so there's lots of help. So if you hear anything and you're like building your own app and you're like, well, if I had a team of 100 people, I'd be able to do this, you're probably right. And so, I've targeted this talk to have something for anyone who's either building your own app or if you're a large organization thinking of building your widget kit widget. And so hopefully everyone will have something to take from this talk. Just a brief overview of the account balance widget. It is exactly what it says it is. It shows your account balance. And for those of you who may be new to widgets, they're basically little chunks of information that you can show on your home screen or your today view on your iPhone. And so we have widgets come in 3 standard sizes. You have to use the Apple sizes when you're building a widget: small, medium, and large, or extra large on an iPad. And so we have the small widget shows 1 account at a time. Medium and large show multiple accounts, up to 4 accounts on your large widget. They also have lots of pretty colors. I'm very proud of this slide. We have some great branding and it looks very pretty. If you have opened all of those accounts, which if you do, thank you for your support of Capital One. But we do have branded backgrounds as well as the branded logos you see on the widgets. So before I dive in now, this is information overload warning. I'm going to talk about a lot of stuff. So, let it wash over you like this beautiful lake in front of you. You can just stare off and kind of listen and take what sticks. And then, of course, I'll share the presentation in the meetup messages afterwards. So, all right, so a quick widget overview in terms of how they work. This is the Emoji Rangers widget, which is Apple's demo project from WWC 2020. And so a few just kind of key points about how widgets work for the talk. One is it has that at main, just like your main apps do. It's the widget entry point. It launches once when you start up the device, and the process remains active in the background, and it handles all of your installed widgets. In other words, as you are using a widget or not, or opening the Capital One app or not, this process is launched once and then just continues until you turn off the device, basically. In terms of how widgets get updated with information, widgets are built of multiple extensions. So you have your main app, right? Then the widget is its own extension. And then if you have what's called a configurable widget, something that a user can configure, you have an intent handler that is another extension that uses Siri intents. So there are some complexities in terms of communicating between those 3 extensions. In order to update the widget, we have something called a timeline, which has a couple like core protocol functions. One is get snapshot, which is used by the widget gallery. So the widget gallery is when you're first adding a widget, it goes to get snapshot to get what it's going to show. And then get timeline is used to update the widget on a regular basis. Now, if you have a configurable widget, you also have provide whatever type you're using options collection, which is used to provide options when you go to edit and set up your widget. So in the case of the account balance widget, it's used to provide accounts, and you select what accounts you want to show from that. All right, so that's just the basics. So what we're going to go over today for widget checklist, and this is kind of my checklist, like the best in class, right? It's a little tongue in cheek, like whatever that means to you as a developer and to your company, that will vary. But for me, and for what this checklist is in this case, we want to use real-time data, right? We want to get data that's up to date for the user. We want to use caching and asynchronous code to get a great user experience. We want to make it accessible so that everyone is able to access and use the widget. We want to test to make sure it's working well. And finally, measuring user behavior, see what people think of it and how they use it. Now, those are all qualities that are kind of standard for like building an app in general. But for widgets have their own little idiosyncrasies that you'll run into. And so I'll be talking about some of those. So use real-time data. No need to open the app, right? Part of the reason of having a widget on your home screen is you want to have something that you don't have to open the app. You can see your balance right away. But if you know widgets at all, you might say, wait, widgets don't update in real time. Right? So widgets are their own beasts. They're their own creatures where they are not real, they aren't live apps. They're really just snapshots that live on your screen and get updated once in a while. So I am going to put a PSA here that if you do build a widget that has data that is important to your user, put a as of timestamp on it somewhere so they know when it was last updated, right? That will save you a lot of low star ratings. So, but in terms of using real-time data, you can get your data from a couple sources for the widget, right? You can get it from the device, right? You can get it from your main app, basically, right? So you can use shared user defaults, you can use shared keychain, you can use the file system, use something called app groups or access groups to share that information. Right? Or you can make API calls directly from the widget. And the benefit of that is it keeps the widget up to date without having to open the app. The drawback is that it could increase your API call volume significantly. And so you want to make sure your backend team is looped in. If you have a backend team, you want to make sure they're looped in to what you're doing because it could increase that quite a bit. So in terms of going off of that, using caching and asynchronous code will improve the user experience and reduce your API calls, so your backend team will be happier. So let's go through when you set up a widget initially, right? So you go to your widget gallery, and we wanted to have live data in the widget gallery, so we wanted to be able to see the accounts. So that's an API call there to get the information. Then you install the widget, and it shows the initial widget. That's another API call. It's because it's a separate extension. It doesn't have access to all the same information. Well, actually, that's the same extension, but the next one will be a separate extension. This third one, where you go to edit the widget, right? If it's a configurable widget, that is another API call to get the options, the account options, right? So you could potentially have several API calls just to install the widget. And so, actually, let me go back there. So what we did in order to fix this is use caching, right? And you typically can do just in an app, you can do like in-memory caching, and that's fine. In this case, because they're separate extensions, you do have to do some form of persistent caching to share the information between your configuration your intent handler, and the widget itself. So you need to think, what are you comfortable storing in your file system or in somewhere persistently or not. All right. So the next step is caching. It's asynchronous code. So here's like the worst case scenario for API calls, right? So you have your user really loves the Capital One widget, and they've installed 6 of them on their home screen. And they lock their phone, and then they unlock it, and all 6 of those make an API call at the exact same time, right? And that is a real issue you need to think about when you're building the widgets. I mean, you don't know how the users are going to use it. And so in that case, you are going to want to consider using some sort of asynchronous code to set up a single call, and then the others can wait for the result of that call, right? So combined futures or async await, that sort of thing will protect you in that case and reduce this scenario from 6 API calls to a single API call. All right. So accessibility, making it open to everyone. This is definitely one of the bullets, or one of the points that really anyone can implement, whatever app size and whatever organization. If you're making your own app, you can spend a little time making it accessible, and I think it makes a big difference to the users. One thing is voiceover, right? So highly encourage implementing voiceover. And when you implement voiceover, think about like what the experience of hearing that will be, right? So for this very simple account balance, there are some things we have to do to make the text very specific, right? So for example, Capital One venture ending in 1127, right? Instead of 1127. Right. And then we also say current balance 1,000 for, usually voiceover would just read it in order, but you can make your, a custom accessibility label to make it really make sense to the voiceover user. Also consider adding what sort of element it is. So you see there at the bottom, it's a link, right? So they know you can tap it and go somewhere. And then we actually add in what's called an accessibility hint at the end there, where you double tap to open the Capital One app, right? So that gives you a full voiceover experience that will be very helpful to your users. The other one is dynamic type. I'm a big fan of dynamic type. I think it's really helpful and something I'll admit, I use it on my phone sometimes. And the interesting thing with the dynamic type is that it's kind of a highly technical approach of fiddling with the settings until it looks right. Like you basically select that Apple has default sizes like headline or body or title one. And so you kind of have to pick one of those and then do all the different sizes and see what they look like. Swift UI previews helps with that a lot because you can see all the different dynamic types at once. But there is a little fiddling, but I really do think it's really valuable to people. And then finally, localization. Consider adding even one language, right, to your app, one other language. Like the Capital One app supports English and Spanish. Maybe start there and try that. So test, and test. So make your widget shine. So there are a few kinds of testing I'm going to talk about. I'm not going to talk about unit testing and UI testing. That is its own talk, and if you believe in it, great, and if you don't, you don't, and that's just kind of where you're at. And I will save that for other talks and other people to discuss. I will say with UI testing, it is kind of fun that you're outside of the main app, and so you use the springboard to access and manipulate the installing the widget and that sort of thing. So that's an example of the code you would use to get the springboard. But the third type of testing is user testing. And I would say if you take one thing from this talk, this is it. You user test your widget. It will, I quote the legendary Dan Brown, sometimes a change of perspective is all it takes to see the light. And I completely agree with this, especially with the development of this widget. So I'll give you two examples. One was, so when we first designed the widget, we said, okay, this is going to be great. We're going to get this widget, they're going to install it, and then they're going to get this screen where it says, it's going to be very helpful. It's going to tell you, edit the widget, select which account balance to display. We're not going to assume what account you want to show, right? We're going to let you edit it, choose the account. Well, we did user testing, and everyone was like, how does this work, right? They're like, wait, how do I edit the widget? How do I go about that? I just want to see my account. I have one credit card. Why isn't it not showing here, right? So suddenly we got a lot of great feedback of like, just show the account. So that's what we did, right? We showed the first account in the order of the accounts that they have. And then the more advanced users who know how to edit a widget or are willing to learn can figure out how to edit and get their other accounts on there. The other one was get someone who knows something about design to look at your widget, and even right. We had a wonderful designer we worked with on here, but it's still always helpful, right, to get other perspectives and other people to look at it. So we had a pretty solid design here with the large widget, but then from design, kind of swarming and getting lots of design eyes on it, we went to this. And you might, if you're not a designer like me, you might be like, well, what's the difference initially? But if you look carefully at this, you'll see that like the dividing lines aren't full white. They're dimmed a little bit in between the accounts. You'll see a gradient in the background, the blue. There's a blue gradient on the right one. I don't know how well you can see it on the screens here, but there is one there. And the text is slightly larger, and it has a more pleasing alignment to it. Right. We moved the last four underneath. So you had kind of like 2 and 2. So those little tweaks made it just that much sweeter for our customers. And then finally, if you are able, it really makes sense to measure your users' behavior. Is this widget valuable, right? And how are you going to measure the success of a widget, right? It's a widget. Right? I mean, it's not like the biggest app in the world. It's a little widget that you put on your screen, but is there any benefit to it? Is there a business value to it? In our case, right? That's very important when they're paying iOS engineers to build this widget. And so what we ended up doing was we tracked installs, right? How often do people install the widget? And that's a little interesting. There's something called Widget Center share.get current configurations. And so we basically would call that when you log into the app. We see what the configuration is. We store that, compare it against what's stored, and then update what's stored, and then log that to our analytics service. And then also the big one is deep linking, right? So widgets take up a lot of real estate on a user screen. So if they're willing to take up that real estate on their screen, what's nice about that is it gives them a nice big button to get right into your app, right? And I'm not at liberty to share all the details about the numbers in terms of, we released this about 6 months ago, but in general, yeah, that's what we've seen, that people with it installed open the app more often. And there's some question about what caused that, right? If you install a widget, you're probably a more engaged user, but there definitely, it did go up in terms of opening the app.
Question in the chat. How do you handle changes in user state, i.e. logout?
Oh, yeah, great question. So that's a very good question, because you can't actually, we aren't having an authentication process, right, with the widget. And so you have to use something else when you have a login system to an app. So in this case, we have a token system, right? So we have to have a whole different sort of authentication system, tokens that are retrieved from when you sign into the main app, right? And then shared with the widgets in a secure manner. And that's how we make calls, API calls. So those tokens last a set amount of time, right? And they expire, and then the user has to sign back in to re-authenticate their tokens. So yeah, if they sign out of the app, it can still be active in terms, I guess if they sign out of the app, it will go away because we clear out the token. But if they don't have the app open or something, you can still have the token there and it can still work for you. And yeah, another interesting thing with that is that with widgets, when you build a widget, especially if you're at a company that does kind of release patterns for new features, and you roll it out to like 1% of customers or 10% of customers. Well, widgets don't play along, because as soon as you add a widget to your bundle, it shows up in the widget gallery, right? And so you can't do like a 1% rollout. You have to be, you can have UI that will show like, oh, we're not working right now, right, on your widget, but you don't want to do that, right? So it is kind of like a thrill ride releasing a widget, because you're like, well, we hope it works and we'll see what happens here after a large amount of testing through internally in the company. But yeah, that's another interesting thing. Does that answer the question about the logout? I think it does. Yeah.
Do you see a lot of uninstalls?
Yeah, we do. Yeah, although it's actually a fairly high retention rate in terms of when someone installs the widget, they seem to keep it around quite a bit.
Do you have any theories? Like, is it a result of uninstalling Capital One, or is it specifically the widget that they're uninstalling? Or how do you, I guess you're tracking, like the app is active, but the widget's not active.
That's a good question. So we're only tracking if they uninstall the widget and not the app.
Got it.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, so that's the widget checklist. Pick one to start when you build your widget. Try it out. It's probably the accessibility or the user testing might be the easiest ones to get started with. And the others can be helpful as well. Some resources for you. We have, if you're new to widgets, Apple did this widget code along video series and a demo project that's super helpful that has that Emoji Rangers project. These WWDC videos, of course, are really great in introducing you to widgets and what they do. And Apple's documentation is pretty solid on WidgetKit. So I also recommend checking that out. Thank you so much. I'm Dan. I've been your host for this evening. Thank you for joining. I am on Mastodon currently, so you can join that if you like. And I hear it's really the new thing. We'll hopefully get Scott on there at some point. And that's it. Thank you so much. And if there's any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
There's one more in chat. I am on there. I just don't use it.
Oh, you just don't use it that much.
Yeah, I'm on a small iOS one. But another question from the chat. Any tips for testing?
Tips for testing?
Yeah.
In terms of, I guess it kind of depends on what kind of testing they mean. There wasn't a bunch of particularly unique things, I would say, to the widget in terms of the testing, other than, we did unit testing to make sure the units worked. We did UI testing to make sure, especially with the branding and the logos, that they showed up when they needed to, or not, right? Some of the accounts don't have a branding, or if the branding fails, what happens? And then with the user testing, my recommendation is to get various viewpoints on the user testing. Like I said, a design eye, a technical eye, a product eye, those sorts. Get as many different, and get your mom to test it. That's my other thing, because that's key as well.
Yeah, so the follow-up from Ed, so there's no gotchas like doing the WatchKit app?
Like the WatchKit app?
Yeah.
I'm not sure what he means by that. Yeah. But not particularly. The only gotcha I ran into was, I think Watch is probably trickier to test, I would say. But the only gotcha I ran into was that springboard and kind of being outside of the app.
Yeah, you're saying like connectivity syncing with the watch. So obviously.
Yeah, that's a little trickier. Yeah, that would be a little trickier.
Yeah, so since the watch, widget's already tied to the device.
Yeah, makes it a little easier. Now, once you get into the new iOS 16 complications on the watch, that's a whole different story. Then you're probably back into that gotcha territory.
Right. So for anyone on Zoom, if you have questions, you can either raise your hand or drop them in the chat, and then anyone in person, just feel free to go.
Okay,
Yeah.
so for success metrics, do you have any overview of what would be considered a good install percentage for a widget or for time spent retaining a widget compared to others?
Yeah, I mean, since this was our first widget, we didn't have a lot to compare it to. So we came up with those metrics initially in terms of how many users installed it. And then also, yes, retention is certainly one of them, how many users keep it installed. And then the other metric of how often do they use it to deep link into the app, right? And that's an interesting, right? We're tracking, oh, this deep link came from the widget, not from an email or somewhere else, right? And we're measuring that. So we kind of came up with those metrics and we're using those currently. So we don't really have a comparison point at this point. It will more become like a historical thing that we'll be able to look at that data. And then also as we build additional widgets, which we are planning on doing, we'll be able to kind of compare the usage between those widgets. But yeah, we're still figuring that out a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
How much were you able to like reuse any of the code from like the accounts tile or like kind of like that
Yeah.
similar view? Like, were you able to reuse that, or for a widget, did you have to basically rewrite it all?
Yeah. So, I mean, the interesting thing about a widget is like, you certainly can reuse that if you're using Swift UI in your code base, right? So not only did I have to like kind of write the Swift UI code for the first time, it was the first Swift UI in the Capital One code base, which was kind of cool, but also we didn't have anything to reuse in terms of that aspect. And then also even in terms of like the components, like we have certain design components that you can reuse in the app. We couldn't use those because they weren't Swift UI. So we had to kind of create it. We're actively building those right now. So they will be at some point, yes, we'll have the components that are built in Swift UI that you'll certainly be able to use in the widgets. And then of course, on the back end, like the API calls and that sort of thing, networking stack, that sort of thing, we will be able to reuse a bunch of that from the main app, from those different modules. Yeah. Cool. Yeah.
How does the user feedback work? Like, did you get the feedback somewhere else? You just like did experiments with like a bunch of users?
Oh yeah, good question. So we released it to volunteers at Capital One who were willing to participate and were interested in participating. And so it was a company internal user testing that we did. And that was, we then, basically set up a Slack channel that was for the user testing. We made a big brouhaha about when it was out because there's so much user testing going on that you really need to kind of get above the noise to say, hey, the widget is really cool. I will say, for those of you who are thinking of building a widget, for some reason, people love widgets. They go nuts. And I don't know what the deal is, but like people were really excited about the widget. So we did have great response to kind of testing it and trying it out, and kept a very active Slack conversation was the main way we got that feedback.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Question in chat, regarding versions features that you support, are you able to deploy newer version features with an FDEF sort of method, or does the App Store preclude that kind of approach?
Yeah, we are able to do that. I think we tend, oh man, I feel like that's more a question for you, Scott. But in terms of like the app, my experience so far is that we tend to like to have the features available for all of our customers, and we try not to separate out like to have a certain part of our customer base be able to have the new customers features. But I don't know. Do you have a viewpoint on that, Scott? Or?
That's interesting because
Yeah.
you could go a few ways. You could have IFDEF, so you could have separate widgets with separate features. Because I think there's a loadout. You can have a certain amount of widgets per app, right? It's not just
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So yeah, we I think we're in the stage of just adopting WidgetKit itself, right? So I think we haven't caught up to that as well, right? We were just getting a widget out and using the base, and we just wanted to get a basic widget out. So, but certainly it's something we could consider if we wanted to go into the iOS 16 features. We could do it def or whatever we want to let those users get those features. Yeah.
How, or like what's being considered, I guess, in like deciding what new widgets to add? Is it mainly like what's gonna drive people to the app, or like what's easiest to like simplify?
Yeah, that's a great question. So like I said, people love widgets. So like all these teams are like, we're going to build a widget. We're very excited. So there is kind of like a slightly centralized, few folks who are kind of central hubs for, kind of processing the ideas and talking through the ideas. You come as a team and present your idea for your new widget, and you have conversations about it. And again, like I said, like widgets are new, and so what you have to make your case basically at this stage of like, why should this widget? Why do we think this is going to drive business value, right? So I know, well, I guess I don't know. Yeah, there are different. You can imagine there are other different features that might be more valuable than others to have, where you can tap something right on the screen to go to the app. So yeah, it depends. Yeah.
This is Mac, and at the Post, we shipped a widget. It was iOS 15 that they launched, 14.
Oh, 14. They launched 14, yeah.
And we found that there was a discoverability problem. Like we looked for ways to message users, because there's a lot of this that's on like the user understanding how to use them. And for example, there's no way within your process to like offer the install to the user and say like, hey, you're using this feature. I can tell you like it. Can we offer you the widget?
Yeah.
You just kind of have to like hope that they discover it. Have you tried tackling that at Capital One in any way, or like have you seen anything that's worked to boost installs since you're tracking that?
Yeah, so I will say, so there's one thing that Capital One's doing, and then there's one thing that I think it's Etsy. I forget who did it with their widget, but I'll mention that too. But for Capital One, what we do is we have a new for you screen. So when you log in, it's one of those things that shows you the latest features.
Got it.
And so we ran the Capital One widget on that recently, saw a large uptake of people starting to install them after that. And then the other thing is usability in terms of how to use a widget, because it really is confusing. When you spend 6 months on it, you're like, well, this is easy, right? But then when someone's brand new to it, oh, you press and hold, and then you edit it, and like there's lots of confusing parts. And so I think it's Etsy. Don't quote me. I'll correct if it's not. But they have a great thing where when you first install the widget, you can tap it and it will take you to the website where it tells you all the instructions on how to use a widget and what you can do with it. Has a deep link actually to Safari or whatever.
I see.
Yeah.
So you for the prompting, the what's new, you're counting on the fact that users know how to install widgets, right?
Yeah. Well, we have there are on the new for you. It has some animations like on how to do it. Yeah. But you're right. That's another thing is people just don't know. If they haven't used them before, they don't even know how to install them. They don't know that a widget gallery exists. Yeah.
Any like tips, tricks, or tools that are especially good for debugging widgets, crashes, triaging, failures of different types? Anything you've used that you found particularly useful?
I wouldn't say there's anything particularly unique. I mean, the Crashlytics and that sort of thing we use for debugging. I will say debugging is a little trickier when you're building the widget because it is a separate process, right? When you're building the app in development, you have to make sure you go to that widget process from your main app process and monitor it if you want to do breakpoints or anything like that. So just kind of looking attached to process in Xcode and going to that process to debug it that way. But in terms of like other debugging tools, we didn't use anything particularly unique for that. Yeah.
Did you ever see like strange rendering issues with iOS? like on device restarts and things like that?
Hey, yeah.
Explain
You
that to,
built
like,
a
the
widget.
designers and
Yes.
product
Yes.
Customers were like, why is this black?
We weren't supposed to talk about that part of widgets. Yeah, there were some really interesting, so we also have a today widget, which is like using the old widget
Legacy,
system.
yeah.
Legacy widget
You
system.
really built a widget.
Yeah, and we still have that. That's still accessible
Oh,
to our
wow, we
users.
killed ours.
Yeah, and so what the operating system likes to do is throw in the new widget where the old widget is. But until you restart the phone, then it gives you the old widget back. And so that was just a really interesting, like, okay, that's how Apple's doing it. Like, I think they're assuming that you get rid of your old widget when you get the new widget, and so there are some bugs there. In terms of black screen, I'm not sure if we got that so much. Like black screens when?
Just like nothing in our snapshot, it was rendered by the OS until like, it would be sort of like a restart condition, maybe like until first unlock or something, and it wasn't handling it gracefully. It would just like render our widget as empty.
Have we seen that recently?
No, I think it's been fixed.
Yeah.
but
I think we saw when we did test flight, those of us who were at 16 when we were building against 15.
It was like
We had some weird
early
issues like
iOS.
that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, there were bugs in iOS 16 too that they actually had to fix when we were releasing that would and so maybe if you built yours a little further back, you might have had that bug.
We haven't seen it lately.
Yeah,
but it was.
they fixed
rough.
it, but yeah. And well, the other thing is that widgets don't show up until you've launched the app, once you've updated the app. And so that can be confusing too, where I want to see the widget, but you haven't launched the app yet. It's not going to show up in the gallery yet. You actually have to launch the app at least once for it to show up in the widget gallery.
It's actually a fun call. Make sure when you're doing test flight, make sure you have some people on the regular OS and not the beta OS.
Yeah.
Otherwise you find other things.
Yeah. That's what we found out. Yeah.
What are the different ways that you can like refresh or trigger a refresh for that API call?
Oh yeah, that's a great question. Yeah. So the way the widgets are set up is you make this get timeline and you basically say, here's what I want you to show, and then I want you to refresh at this time. And you say, 10 minutes later, an hour later, or whatever. And you can send a whole bunch of them. You could send like 8 timeline events for a whole day or something, right? And so you actually send when you want it to update. So I think ours updates like once an hour or something, right? And so that said, Apple does get final say. And so you can say, well, I'd like it to update at this point, but they will decide, well, we might do that, right? Or we might not. If the user doesn't use your app a lot or doesn't use the widget much, they might not refresh it right away. They might have, or if they have other system resources that are being used, they might not refresh it. It won't be updated sooner than what you asked for, but it could be updated later. So yeah, you just tell it when you want to update. I think when we were looking at other apps, the fastest you could update was about every 10 minutes. But then you do have to think about, like, does the user need their account updated every 10 minutes, or we landed on an hour? That said, we did have backend code where we could have changed that in production immediately. If we were like, oh, people are going nuts, they need their account every 10 minutes, we'd be able to change that quickly. Yeah.
Are users able to like refresh that if they open the app? I guess, well, the app would have real-time data, but like
Yes.
the widget, will that update if you open the app?
Oh yeah, so that's another good point. Yeah, so that's from the widget side, updating it, but you can also update the widget from the app side as much as you want, right? And so yes, we have it refresh the widget whenever someone opens the app as well.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Can you tie those refreshes to like phone level events, like returning to the home page or like a push notification?
Yeah, you can. I don't, I know like one really cool one is like if your widget uses location services, the system might update your widget if it notices you've traveled a long distance, right? And so, yeah, there are certain things like that you can connect to kind of system-wide events. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know all of them. I didn't do a whole bunch of research into that, but like the location one, I know is a cool one. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
With your, so your timeline is like these chronologically scheduled refresh events. and they can be invalidated or reloaded earlier by app usage. Do you ever reload the timeline from a like sort of a push driven model? Like, do you send an alert, like a notification or remote notification silently to refresh that on it? Or so the only way that my account balance would be updated is just that refresh event, like the poll, I guess, model.
Yeah. So you can see there's some risk there, right? That if someone
like it might be
deposited some money and it's not showing their money in the widget, they might get upset.
Important.
Which is why that label was key and why it has a nice primary position, because that's really key for that sort of stuff.
Do you know if it's technically possible to do a push like that for that specific scenario, like a data deposit?
I believe it is not, because I believe we looked into that. We probably would have, but I'm not sure. I don't remember. Yeah.
I think it would have to be like a silent remote notification to the app install, and it will then kick off the widget timeline reload from that. And I guess a user might be able to disable that too.
I think that was the problem, that you could do it to the main app, but then that it's not connected to the process of the widget. And so I think there was an issue there. So I guess you could have maybe sent a notification to the widget from there, but yeah.
I think when we during a background fetch, we may kick off like a reload. I think that's the API reload the timeline that you called it.
Yeah.
Something along those lines.
Yeah.
Is there a way to track if like the data gets really stale, like maybe the token expired? Do we have any insight into like if the user hasn't opened the app in a long time, maybe their token is expired completely and that data's gotten really stale?
Yeah, we do even more than that, actually. If the token is expired, we change the UI to tap the widget to show your user data. And then it goes back, it opens the main app, refreshes your token. You can see it. So yeah, we have, because otherwise it could be like from a week ago or 2 weeks ago or whatever. Yeah.
What do you want to build next?
What do I want to build next?
Yeah, like, is there anything you would build differently here or build next?
I mean, I thought this was a great widget to start with, because it's a very simple, practical tool for the users. In terms of building next, I thought about using some of these iOS 16 like lock screen things, but for the account balance, you don't really need that, right? In fact, for us, when your lock screen is locked, it's redacted completely, right? So I wouldn't build that. I think some of the other services that Capital One, is a banking customer, I don't know, like sending someone money or something, right? Or making a credit card payment or something, that might be useful for a customer in terms of that. Yeah,
cool.
I'm not super familiar with the coding ecosystem of iOS and Mac, but I'm wondering, I know that they were talking about bringing those two worlds together, Mac OS and iOS. So if you build a widget for iOS, is that transferable to Mac OS currently, or do you have to do some additional work or code it specifically for Mac OS?
Yeah, it is transferable. You can have widgets on the, I don't do a lot of Mac development, but it's in the, what's that called? The
control center.
The control center, I guess. Is that what it's called? Yeah, on your Mac computer. So yes, you can have a widget there as well and use that same code. Yeah.
But you need the Mac app. You need to have a Mac app on the Mac to host the widget.
That's correct. Yes. Yeah. So that we are, when you're on computer, you access our services through the web. So we don't have an app on the computer. So we don't have that currently. Yeah.
Could you lecture us on what's going on under the hood when you had that 6 widget scenario? So 6 simultaneous widgets making an API request. Like, how does that interact with the app delegate, and how are those even like sharing data with each other at all? Like, what are there 6 instances of when you're doing that? How do they like community?
This is a trick question because this is the guy who just redid all of our internal networking stack.
Right, but no, I've never done the widget before. So
Yeah, well,
I don't know
it's
how that works.
so it actually uses bright futures and creates a future and makes a call, and then you can kind of connect. It checks if that exists, right? If that future exists, and if it does, it subscribes to that as opposed to making its own API call and just waits for that call to return.
So there's communication between instances of the widgets.
Yes, yeah. So that, I think that was a discovery we had too, which was, oh, are these completely separate or not? And actually they're all using the same code, which
What's
is
the
interesting.
question? What that same code, like what is it? Are they all using an app delegate or what? How's it? Did you have to do anything to set it up that way? Or is it just automatic?
I mean, it's almost like different views in a way, because they're all like part of the same, it's all, we didn't have to do anything special for that. They're all run by the same, they're all using the same timeline provider. They're all using the same code. Yeah, so there aren't different app delegates for them. You could think of it as they're all the same app, and just different, I guess you could say, views that are showing.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
It's a
actually
rough
somewhat
way of
surprising.
describing it.
That's-
Yeah,
That's good news
yeah,
for us.
yeah.
Do you schedule, like if a user has multiple installed, do you optimize the reload of the timeline?
What do you mean?
You schedule them independently, like do you reload the timeline for my credit card widget separately from my bank widget, or are they synchronized to refresh at the same interval?
So it's interesting, they refresh on their own. So you could have at different times, but that quickly gets in sync once the user has locked their phone or goes to bed and wakes up, then they all refresh at the same time. Yeah. So, but yeah, initially they're doing their own refresh.
But that synchronization is like a result of a widget kit and not necessarily something you're.
That's correct. Yeah. We didn't feel the need to do it because it would quickly synchronize that. But you're right, you could further optimize it to get it really reduce API calls. Yeah.
All right, I think looking no more questions. Thank you everyone for attending. I do have a few quick announcements, Dan, if you might. So thank you.
All right.
First off, thank you, Dan, for presenting. Let me make sure I have the right screen up too.
Is there a bathroom nearby?
Yes, I can escort.
Okay.
Hey Scott, would you like to record the announcements or should we?
Yeah, let's record the announcements because there'll probably be, there's gonna be some stuff there. So give me a second to get back. All right, and I'll drop these links in the chat quickly. So if you're interested in speaking, we have a link to our form for speaker interest submission. So if you're interested in speaking, either in person or hybrid, please let us know. If you want to catch recording of this, previous meetups, as well as the other meetups within the dev community organization, they were on the dev community YouTube channel, so please subscribe, and this will hopefully be posted there in like a week or two. We do also have a Slack workspace for the dev community. It's public. It doesn't get much use right now. Maybe we can rejuvenate it, but I'll paste the link anyway. And then for anyone in person, I have some stickers. So after I stop sharing, I will share the link. So
Sticker, even if you showed up 20 minutes late.
yeah. And then for next month, well, which will be April, because we're counting this as February and March, will be April 11th at 6 p.m. It will be in the new public event space in the new Capital One building, which we call C3. So hopefully we will see a lot of you there. And thanks for coming by. And then we're going to have a little time, at least here in person, for networking. People on Zoom are also free to hang out and chat if they want to. So thank you. Let me grab those slides, those links for everybody, and thanks for coming.
Shall I kill the
Yeah, no,
recording?
you go.
I'm going to see the reaction. But these figures. Last floor. On like a high floor.
Good. Everyone drop that.